Hello and welcome, everyone. Today's Friday, March the 21st. We just had a brief discussion with the students, how we're going to be continuing our UX UI course and the rest of the classes that are remaining. Next week, just a quick reminder, we're going to be starting in the morning. So I'm switching my class with Roberto, and we're going to meet here at 9 a.m. sharp in the same room. It's a J140, right? J140, that's the room. So we'll start the class then next week. As we progress further, I'm going to give you more time to work with your groups as well, with your last project remaining, which is the mobile app. So I look forward to even reviewing it with you when you get a chance, just to see how everyone is doing. And we're going to have a really fun time going forward. So let's get started with today's lesson. I'm going to share my screen now and we'll continue. So we're at class number 10. I do have two files for you there, more pertaining to the website design. I don't want you to just keep thinking mobile. You can do a lot of website prototypes as well in Figma, which align with some of the projects you might be working on. As I mentioned earlier, one of your projects used to be a portfolio prototype for your website. You would do it in Figma first. But see, that didn't really work out because, for one, it's too repetitive. And two, it never aligned properly with Felicia's class because by the time you guys are learning the HTML stuff, you got to have the prototype done first, and then you produce the website. The way the projects were aligned, they were due at the same time. So we didn't have that window of a differential to do it properly. And it kind of raised, not a little, it wasn't really confusing because the students understood the point, basically, of why you're doing it, for what reason and stuff. But to put it in perspective, it's better that you're doing this mobile group project last and it's focused on that primarily. So you have a better portfolio outcome as well. All right, so that's been happening since last year. So I'm happy with the way we made the slight change for the better, and I got better results from the students, and everyone's happy. So I'm gonna upload some stuff here after today's lessons. I'm gonna keep these for you, just in case you're wondering what they are. They're just a website example of Figma. I'm going to open one up right now, just so you can see here. When I open a file locally, I'm going to select the drafts. I'm going to import it as a drafts file. Last week, we covered Figma basics. So I covered the application, the interface, the overall kind of spectrum of everything. Watch last week's video in case you did miss that class, okay? And if you have any questions, again, today will be a good continuation of not just the basics, but some more intermediate things. Today, I'm going to show you how to create a wireframe prototype from scratch. Okay, and we're going to make a mobile app this time. And then we're going to create that app, work like an app. So we're going to do a little bit of functionality, scrolling, vertical, horizontal scrolling. We'll do some navigation. We'll even do like a pop-up little window that you might find interesting with most apps that they have that capability. So once we do that today, you'll have a good understanding how Figma can help you designing your project, okay? And then next week, we'll cover some little bits and pieces more and more, enough so you can understand how the program works. The good thing is we used XD as our segue program to learn how prototyping works. So it doesn't matter what program you learn in the future. There used to be one called Sketch. Sketch used to be a popular prototyping tool as well 10 years ago. Right? So was Flash and other programs we used in the past. That was more multimedia oriented. But programs change, okay? The methodology stays the same. You're still making buttons click to other screens and making things work. The only thing that changes is technology, devices, hardware, right? Software. And you have to, as a professional, you have to always adapt, right? And by learning this design skill, it's transferable. You can always adapt and transfer your skills to learning new tools and new programs. So I don't want you to just get stuck on one thing and, expect everything to happen there. So Figma is the way things are looking right now. Figma is XD is good, but it's not really, some companies still use it. Professionals, they still swear by XD because they use Adobe interfaces to interact with XD. It's a keeper, so keep it, use it for your own good. But Figma is the way the future is right now in the UX, UI industry. So this is why we're using Figma for the next weeks to come. So last week we did a really basic exercise just to kind of go over the tools. What I'm talking about right now is this website example I gave you on Blackboard. So you can access this, it's like a basic prototype, like a shell for a website. And you can see how from that, pretend it's grayscale. We just added some colors to differentiate the blocks. We used a 12 guide layout, just like we did in Photoshop. Within those 12 guides, you can easily divide numbers like 3, 1, 4, 6, 2, and so on and so forth. You can actually make a website and make a responsive website as well. Right? So then this was the way we finished it with an image and some navigational buttons. And if you're wondering what this is, these are components. So we're going to cover components probably next week. It's in a more advanced way to program your buttons to work in a uniform fashion with your products. When I say products, I mean, let's say 10 pages in a website makes it a product. So it's a little more advanced. It's not just connecting building blocks. This is why this is good to kind of keep, just to kind of show you how this works. There's your, on the bottom here, if you can see my bottom hand here. Well, those people can't see, they're watching the video, where my cursor is moving down here. Okay, this is how I set up the 12 column grid. You can do grid or you can do columns. Okay, and you can actually click here to designate how many columns you want to set up on your web page. I can do like, let's say 8 columns, right? So you can change it to 8. I can change it to 12 is a good common denominator because it's divisible by the numbers like 6 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so on and so forth. And 1. And then the color, the opacity, right? That's how it helped us build this skeleton, this wireframe of a website. So we're going to use the actual layout columns for the mobile app. We'll probably use like 2, but sometimes I've seen people use 4. So it's a different type of tactic. Maybe we just, we'll kind of stick with, I guess 4 for now. I think 4 is good. I mean, if you open your phone right now, how's your grid set up on your phone? How many icons do you see, right? With mine, it's like 4. Like I got 4 icons across. You got 4, right? My old phone, my old Note, whatever, plus 10. I think I had like 5. It was weird, a smaller grid pixel system. So you can kind of see what your phone is set up and how much the grid system can work with your layout and design. So we'll go with 4 for now. Okay. So I'm not going to go over this. I'm going to skip it for now. This is something you can look at as a reference file in case you want to make a website in Figma. So this is like a good template for you to follow. Okay. That's why I left it there for you, in case you're wondering, hey, what are these files here? They're just examples of a website class and a website example. So you can kind of see what that is. So I'd rather get right into the mobile part of things. So let's go ahead and create a new file right now. If you're watching this video, do it with me together. If you're in class, even better. Open up Figma. We're going to create a new document. Right? And I'm glad the fact that I saw you have the option to create a new. Going to close this one down and make a new one. So you can create a design file, which is the most popular thing on the list for us to do. You're creating a design file. The FigJam board is when you're doing a collaboration with a bunch of coworkers or groups, which you can actually explore with your group and create a new FigJam board and just share ideas back and forth. It's like an idea session. So you can bounce ideas, notes, content, images, things like that, right? So maybe I'll cover this one day. I'll show you how it works. But I'll be honest with you, a lot of students couldn't even have opened this last time, so we kind of skipped it. We just did the design file because you can share the design file as well, which is more critical, I think. Because when you share the design file, then all of us can partake in that file structure. And you can all test it and stuff and partake in it. So it's a good way to have that available. This is the latest added feature. It's called a slide deck. I call it PowerPoint. It's like a PowerPoint built-in feature in Figma, which you can create a presentation. I think it's pretty cool, actually. I kind of saw the vision of it. You can create a website presentation for anything. So it's a good way to, like Google Slides does the same thing, if you ask me, right? Google Slides, PowerPoint. So you can make one in Figma. Perhaps the fact that you can make it a more interactive prototype, it's what's the benefit of making one in here. Now, again, this is not a requirement for the project coming up, but they're good assets to understand or parts of the program. So we're going to go open up a new design file for now and stick with the basics. And my interface is the dark interface. You can see it here. Do you have a preference? What's yours, light or dark? You can change it here under the menu, okay? So you got your preference, theme, light, or dark. The screen doesn't change. What's easier for you to see from there, the light or the dark? You sure? The light's better? Okay, so we'll stick with the light theme. In that case, I'm gonna close this down and open up a new document, because when you tell a new document to form before you change the theme, the document will stay dark or light, whatever preference you have. But because it's light now, I'm gonna go ahead and change a new document to open up. All right, so again, my design tools are down here, okay, on the bottom. Here we have the pages, the layers, the assets. So let's start off with an actual, with an iPhone page frame design to work with. So we're gonna go over to the frame tool. Remember, if you ask people what's the best thing you like about Figma, a lot of them will say the frame tool, because it's really, really compatible and it's pretty much the main tool. Figma wouldn't be Figma without this frame tool, because a frame tool lets you create more advanced groupings of elements or interactive objects, as well as create artboards. So you need the frame tool to kind of create anything. So without that tool, you can't do much, right? So go ahead and click on the frame tool. And some people will rather say, well, you can just draw something and tell it what you want it to be, right? Or beforehand, you can set up what you want the frame to be from the list of options on the right side. So you can say you want to create an iPhone 16 Pro Max type of. I would base it on your phone, because ultimately you're going to test this prototype. Figma has an app, by the way. So you can get the Figma app and you can test your prototypes on your phone and send it to other people to test your prototype. So basically, you can just give your phone to someone and say, hey, check out my app. And you can kind of look like an app. They won't know the difference. They'll think it's a real app. The only thing you have to do is publish it and go to the app, the Apple Store or the Play Store, and develop the app too. Let's go to iPhone 16. Which one do you guys want to do? Which one? 16 Pro Max? Is that like the newest one? Okay. Now, even if you have an Android phone, it'll still be compatible with this version because it's similar sizing. I've seen prototypes work in both formats, but 16 Pro Max. Yeah. And let's say you change your mind after, like, hey, I'm not feeling this iPhone Pro Max. Well, what you can do is this: you can click on it, click on the frame, and then change your screen size. So you can always change it after. Now, I strongly recommend you don't do this, right? It's like going to InDesign and making a 8.5 by 11 page, and all of a sudden you're told, hey, this thing has to be 8.5 by 5.5. Like the size is different. You have to resize everything, right? So you want to make sure you start with the right size to begin with. Honestly, I would stick with this one here because the difference is 16 and 16 Pro Max is just a little bigger and smaller, right? So here's 16 Pro. So 16 Pro and 16 are the same. I think it's just more like hardware upgrades. And Pro Max is slightly bigger. So they're all the same ratio, which means they're all going to look the same when you publish the actual app, okay? All right. So as a matter of fact, I'm going to go with 16. Just it's more compact for me to see, okay? Here I have some thumbnails of, you can open up your, I was gonna say, open up your phone and choose your favorite app. Or you can open up any type of social media app or any app that you like. And you can actually look at a interface and you can create a wireframe for that interface and not necessarily copy it. But if you look at most things, they're all kind of similar anyways. It's just arrangement of graphics and pixels, layouts, colors, most of the things look very similar, okay? As far as the buttons and the layouts, that's all design and the skeleton work. Sorry, the surface design. So maybe we'll create something like this, just like a simple wireframe. And then we're going to talk all about the functionality items that we're going to create. Okay, so maybe if I'm gearing towards something like that, let's break it down into blocks and different, grayscale colors and stuff. Grayscale shades, I should say, not colors. And then we're going to maybe design all three. What do you think? We'll make one go to the next one and so on and so forth. We should also consider doing an introduction of your app. And that's something we did a lot in XD with the logo coming in and stuff. So maybe that should be like a good introduction to whatever it is that you're, getting your users to come to the main screen. So I'll try to make it similar like this. Doesn't have to be exactly, I'm just giving you ideas. I want you to get ideas. I'm sure you have lots of ideas by looking at your apps that you currently use, and you can just search for some online as well. So this is what I'm looking at right now, and I'm just gonna see if I can I bring this in? Let's see, drag and drop, right? So it's like an image. You can even bring in images side by side and kind of go with what you want to design. Okay, so this is our design right here. I'm gonna start with a grayscale kind of mock-up prototype of this, and I'm gonna make it a little different. So I'm gonna start with pressing R. R is the rectangle tool. It should still be, there we go. A lot of these tools are very similar to learn. Look, L is line, arrows, shift L, ellipse is O, and you got the polygons and stuff. The pen tool is always usually P, even from Illustrator and Photoshop, right? They all took the P. T is your text tool, of course. So that's your shortcuts, and you can access them just by clicking on them. The toolbar is not really overwhelming for you, especially now. You're all seasoned designers in the Adobe program, so this is nothing for you to look at and get intimidated by. But the pen tool is pretty good, as we covered it last week. You can create little icons and draw a little more like the custom shapes. So let's draw the rectangle on the top here. As I'm drawing, right? Automatically, you should see things do snap. So you do have snapping enabled. I will leave the defaults alone. You don't have to change too many preferences unless it's really not working accordingly. I like to kind of keep things as they are. And as far as measurements are concerned, this is called a full width scale. As far as the height goes, you can do it this way, or you can go over here and get more technical. So you can put the height to be like 120 pixels exactly by typing in 120. All right. You can type in your own dimensions. Of course, here's your opacity. You even have a corner radius. So let's say I wanted to make this round like that. I would just apply a corner radius and make it so. Now, let's say I don't want to round, because if I do this, it rounds all four corners, right? How do you only round two corners? So the two corners, you literally have to go over here and do your corner radius. But if you click on your little extra little button there, you can really get specific and tell each corner how much radius you want to give it. So for example, I want to give the bottom left corner radius 25 pixels and the bottom right 25 pixels, and I'm going to get a corner radius only on those specific corners. The only thing about Figma and XD and other programs, it's very, very tedious. The little details, you have to look out for it. Like even me, sometimes I forget, like, because I use so many programs. I'm like, where was that again? So I got to kind of skim through everything and see, oh, it's got to be there because that's where the corner radius is. Corner radius, it's got to be that button to give me the additional options. Do you think I knew that? I have to kind of remind myself by looking at it, right? Some of the things I forget too, I got to remind myself by looking at kind of common sense stuff, right? Keep it within the same group. The app developers know what to do, so I trust them to do a good job. If anything, you can always look it up, right? If you're looking for something. So we'll do that. Keep it grayscale for now, okay? We're gonna add some, let's add some other additional design elements. Perhaps if we're aiming for this design, we're gonna do a little thumbnail, some text there. I'm gonna use the rectangle tool again, okay? And this time I'm going to just make it darker gray. Okay. If I zoom in, sometimes you have to zoom in to see the actual corners. If you double click, look what happens. You can edit it like a trapezoid. Okay. If you don't want to do that, just simply double click away from it. And if you zoom in close enough, you can do corner radius. But again, if you double click, it's like you're entering the object editing mode, which you can do some additional editing this way. Okay, which is pretty cool. I think you can do some Illustrator type of simulated editing, right? And again, if you don't like that, just press Command Z, or click away, double click away to exit. The text tool right here, T for text, you simply hit, just click or click and drag the mouse. This is where you put your content. To make the text bigger, this won't work because what you're doing is increasing the text box size, not necessarily the content. What makes it bigger, I know it's a little too step oriented, but look, there's an actual scale tool, right? So you can use the scale tool if you can see it. If you press K for scale, how does that make sense? K for scale. So if you press K, you can then go ahead and resize the text. No shift required. It does it all uniform. So you can just make the text that way. I honestly like to do it by using my shortcuts, Command Shift greater than, Command Shift less than with the keyboard. You can also go here and change the font size this way. Perhaps I'll go with, type in 16, 20, or 18. Okay. I like to recycle text. So if I go Alt or Option click, drag, you can then double click and change it to something else. So this would be called whatever, this is the very beginning. And then this, I'll make it smaller. Quite a bit smaller, right? Like that. Later on, I'm going to show you how to replace those grayscale elements with colors, graphics, and rich content so you can have like a high fidelity replacement. All right, I'm going to make this a little long. I just realized this should be a little longer. This is what I like about this. If you do this, the corner radius stays the same. It doesn't affect it whatsoever. It doesn't skew with it. We're going to put a search bar there. And this will be, I'm just going to go with a white fill. And if I zoom in close enough, I should get the corner radius buttons as well. So it doesn't take much effort to design things in Figma. As long as you pay attention to the details and you're familiar with the tools, you can pretty much recreate almost anything from a wireframe perspective. Hey, how do I center this perfectly? So when I move it left and right, look what happens. The little red smart guide shows up. That's telling me that's aligned perfectly in the middle of my page. If for some reason you're not getting it, you can always resort to the alignment tools here. Just like in Illustrator, you can go, left align, middle, or right align. Okay, so you can either do either or. So far, everything I've designed appears in my layers panel. You can see here, everything is inside my iPhone screen that we made from the very beginning. We created an iPhone of, I guess, 14. And then here we have a rectangle, a text box, and all these things there. A lot of times you might want to group things together just to keep things nice and tidy. So you can select the whole interface here and press Command G or Control G. Will it work? Yep, it worked. That's a universal group shortcut. So now all these things are inside a group. Okay. Is that like a sound effect or like a pipe or something? All right. Then we're going to create some additional content boxes underneath. So for this one, I'll just recycle some text here. I guess here we'll have featured content. Okay, featured content. I'm going to make this a little bigger. Command Shift less than or greater than. You can always match fonts or font sizes with whatever it is that you're looking for. All right, we're gonna just create some other additional things here with the rectangle tool. Now, I forgot to mention the 4-column setup. So let's just apply that right now. And you can turn that on and off if it's distracting you. Premium design. So if I click on the top corner of my, app screen prototype, I'm going to scroll down here and do what's called a layout grid. If I want to add one of these, I got to click on the little plus button on the right. If you hit the plus button, it's going to add a layout grid. But I wasn't looking for the layout grid. I was looking for the layout. I was looking for the columns, the ones we do to make websites and stuff. But in this case, we're making apps. So I'm getting the 5-column setup by default. I can always switch that to 4 columns. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and change it to here. I'll type in 4 columns. And you can see how everything's going to be 4 columns going forward. Yeah, no problem. So if you click on the top of the, the actual frame, right? Down here, you can scroll down and add a layout grid, but you're going to change it to columns instead of grid. And we're going to change the number to 4. The thing is also with this 4-column grid, you want to give it some margins. So there's a little bit of padding or space between the edges of the app or the phone or the device to the layout design. So for that, we're going to go create a margin of perhaps 10 pixels, maybe 20. So I added a 20 margin, 20 pixels. So anything that I want to kind of design right now, it's kind of within my margin of 20 pixels from the width of my entire layout. Perhaps I'm going to go back now and revisit some of my content. This will be free floating. Maybe this perhaps, like my search bar here, will be also extended to the 4 columns, you see. So I'm going to use that my design rule for guiding me to make everything consistent and also following the rules of, design or web design, app design using column structure. And when it comes to development, it makes it easier for the developers to kind of establish these rules as well. That's why you're learning stuff in, semantic HTML, columns and sections and stuff, because you're going to make, I guess you can use Bootstrap, or you can use other different stacking systems to make responsive pages. So that's why you got to, like 4 can become 2 if it's less than a certain size, let's say. Right? So this is why these are important. Now, eventually, when you do start to design, you could go down here and you can actually go and hide this layout grid. I think I clicked delete by accident. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit the visible on and off. You see how it's nap time. So you have the eye blinking, open and close, right? You can turn off the visible on and off throughout your design process. All right. Let's add some more little design details, and then we're going to start with, again, I wanted to get into the mechanics of how things work, not just wasting too much time on little details. I know you can do this once you get into it. I know you can do all these little fancy little detailed design things. It just, I wanted to get you warmed up and show you all the technicalities along the way. So once I do a little bit, I don't want to repeat it myself too much because then we're wasting time, right? But you get the idea, right? I can spend another hour on this and make it look exactly like that one and stuff. It just takes more time. The good thing is once you invest the time, you can reuse it to different screens, different artboards, copy, paste, group, things like that. So let's just fulfill this design and then we'll carry out to the next part. I'm going to perhaps do another, maybe all with the boxes, or I'll establish the columns here that way as well. But perhaps I'm going to get this visible. So this will be a 2-column spread like that. Shift select, right? My favorite part in Figma. I wish XD. Do you believe Figma has this and not XD? Command D, which is step and repeat, right? Like that's my favorite Illustrator shortcut. And XD didn't even inherit that, but Figma did. It's weird how some programs work and some don't. All right. Let's say this is our layout. Like I said, you can do the details and stuff afterwards. What I forgot to do was the bottom part. We're going to create a menu. Usually you have a lot of these menus on the apps that this will be our main feature or focal point later for navigation. So this will be the navigation part of most apps now. Not only that, the hamburger button in the top corner, A lot of them have the bottom menus, whether you're using like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever. They all have the menu items on the bottom and the top. So we're going to use the bottom ones for sure. And the top, perhaps we can have like a little hamburger button or something to that nature as well. So I'm going to do one lesson. I'll teach you how to make a hamburger menu button. So you're going to execute that on your app. That'll be a more advanced lesson I'll teach you. Okay. So we're not there yet, but I will eventually get into that stuff, and you can have more advanced drop down menus and things on your prototyping. Okay. But for now, let's just, again, learn the basics and the intermediate steps. So let's make a menu on the bottom. I'm going to use the rectangle tool again. And just do one of these. Perhaps this will be much darker. And here I'll have perhaps, I'll make 4 buttons actually. Okay, so the 4 buttons. There's my rectangle tool. So it'll be 1. Two, 3, 4. And I could do 5, but I like the 4 split perfectly in the middle of each column. Is it in the middle? Well, let's see. Because I know if I mix this one in the middle here, if I position it here, here's another little tactic you can use. You can position these 2 in the middle, right? And the rest of the other one, you just have to go up here and do distribute horizontal spacing. You see that? So they're all aligned nicely, perfectly according to the whole width of your selection. So cool little tricks you can inherit from learning from other design programs into Figma here. Sometimes I watch some of these people do demonstrations and tutorials, and I'm like thinking to myself, you could have used so many other Illustrator common sense shortcuts to your design approach, right? So like I said, the stuff you've learned already in Illustrator, Photoshop, and even InDesign, all those techniques you've learned, you can apply them in Figma as well, right? That's all just about the approach. So I'm going to go ahead and hide this thing. So this looks kind of like an app, right? We have the greeting, the contents, the buttons on the bottom. So this is like a good wireframe design we can present to our clients at this point. Of course, I'll add more detail and make it look a little better than this, but let's just say that's exactly where we're at. Okay, so this is called a wireframe for first screen. And we're gonna just delete this for now. I'm gonna group this together. Okay, I'm gonna group this together right now. So just press Command or Control G. So it's like that. This is also grouped. If you look at my layers on the left side here, my files, there's all my layers and there's my 2 groups. You can also name the group accordingly. This is the bottom menu, okay? And these are all the actual items within. Okay. So scrollable content, if I let's save this as a local file now. I'll save it as it's as soon as you work something in Figma, it's automatically saved. Did you know that? If I was to put this, well, you should name it first. Wireframe design, okay? We'll call it iPhone 16. Right. I'm going to save a local copy. So I'm going to go local copy, just in case, right? You never know. And I'm going to go to my desktop and save a local copy. But just as I was saying earlier, let's just say you close this file. right? And you go to this a new file option, or just go to file, new, well, new window opens up a new window. But even if you have a new window open, just close this window here. So I closed all my Figma windows basically, right? I went right from scratch. I saved a local copy of my design. But because Figma is a cloud-based software, that's why you can use it on a browser. You don't even have to download the Figma app to use Figma necessarily. As soon as you open the application, as soon as you open Figma, right? And you go to your like all projects button, drafts. Okay. Usually the drafts is where your working drafts are saved. Sometimes if you put the project in the different area, like let's say like projects and stuff, once you saved it and uploaded, it'll find it there. You can actually go in the trash can and retrieve stuff as well. But drafts is where you're currently working on your project. So it is saved under your cloud type of save. Okay. So if you double click on this, it'll basically continue where you left off. But I always said, listen, I don't trust the cloud all that 100%. I always save a local, physical, tangible copy. On my computer, when I back it up, I got like a 4 terabyte hard drive I use sometimes to back up my information. Because I don't know what kind of servers go down. Things get hacked. Like if the government can get hacked, so can you. Okay. If Sony can get hacked, if the banks can get hacked, so can you. All right. So be careful and back up your stuff on, common sense, right? Use your devices and things. All right. For now, let's go ahead and present our prototype. So if I click on the play button right now, it should open up an iPhone and it'll give me a preview. And if I download I should download Figma actually. I don't think I have it on this phone. But if I open up the Figma app and I open my thing, it's going to look exactly like that. And then you can actually see and navigate and work this thing like a real app, right? It's nice and fixed on the screen. It did match it. I like how it gives me like an iPhone type of preview. So it shows you what it actually looks like, right? So you can see how this will interact with your motions and stuff, right? Any questions so far? Am I going too fast or we're good? I'm doing casual speed, right? All right. So now let's get into the more interactive stuff because, this is very important actually. If you don't do this, you can't do the next part. So you have to do this in steps. Sometimes I even encourage students to do drawings, sketches on paper. You got to get the ideas first. I did this just by looking at something. If you like to do that as well, sure. You saw me drag a picture beside it and mimic some of the design elements and trying to make it look like similar. So you can do either or, whatever the approach you like. I can open up your favorite game right now, your favorite app, and recreate a wireframe from it just by building blocks, websites, apps, whatever you want to do. But the next part is what makes it more interactive. So what we're going to do for the next part is I'm going to duplicate this in case I mess it up. Sometimes I do that when it comes to getting certain elements to lock in. So I'm going to just hit Command D. And yes, that duplicated my entire page. So Command D duplicates pages and duplicates objects in motion, like step and repeat. You can also do Option, drag, and copy an artboard that way as well, just like you would in XD. Very similar. I'm gonna do one for now. And for this one, I'm just going to extend the length of the page. Now, the difference between, again, I'll refer XD because we used it before. You don't have that, the fold line, right? Where you stop your design, because anything underneath that is called underneath the fold, okay? So you don't have to worry about that. So what happens is automatically when you create here. It was bothering me. I had to look it up. The viewport height. You don't have a viewport height, so you don't have to worry about it. The viewport height in XD determines your fold line. Now, don't think this is like magic. If you do this, it's gonna look really bad because it's not gonna fit to your screen. Technically, you should do this on a device length. So you would strategically program the viewport height to match the length of your overall height. Again, you don't have to concern yourself with that because Figma doesn't have that option. XD did. I kind of liked it, but I didn't like it at the same time because it caused a lot of confusion with different devices. So there's none of this in Figma, no viewport height. What Figma has is basically its own way of distributing the scrolling. All you have to do is increase the actual depth of the page. So if you do like something like that, it's going to scroll to that amount. Now, the only thing is this also has to pass on to the bottom. I'm going to move this to the bottom here, and I'm going to continue copying this blocks down this way just to have another copy design. So it's like a scrollable item, right? So I've obviously I extended the length of that page. And now what happens is when I click on this and I scroll, right? It scrolls up and down, right? So no viewport height, okay? You just have to simply navigate with your items like that. Just trying to find the next option. Give me 1 second. Oh, yeah, that should work. Right. So what I'm going to do now, if you notice on the normal app, when you scroll like this, right? The very first thing that's wrong here is this should stay fixed and the menu should show up or stay fixed to the bottom. It shouldn't do this. This should be always there, right? If you look at your Instagram and your other apps, the menu on the bottom is always stuck on the bottom and the menu on top is always stuck at the top. So what you're scrolling is the items in the back, right? So to make that applicable on this design is we have to constrain our positions in those particular elements. In this case, we'll call it the header. We'll call it the footer. I'm sure you're familiar with the sticky footer by now. Sticky footer, sticky header in HTML. So they always say stuck there, right? No matter what you do when you scroll, it's stuck in that position. So I'm going to select this whole grouped element that I have here. And this could be like, let's say the menu could be a website, could be an app. And I'm going to go over to where it says constraints. I'm going to go center, and I'm going to go top, okay? Because that's going to be the constraint for this area. So I'm going to select the very top part. Could be like a menu. You're going to have a hamburger menu there, all the other items, basically the header portion of the app. This is only if you wanted to. Some apps don't do this. Some apps just scroll. But if your intention is to have that thing locked there and always be there, right? I'm going to show you my website here because I know I have it on one of my directories, my dental business directory. Okay, so if I go to my dental directory here, so if I scroll, see the menu, it sticks to the top, right? See? It scrolls all the way like that. It stays. If it's the mobile version, and you scroll, right? This stays stuck to the top, right? This is like the mobile app of this version here. Okay, so that's what that is. In HTML, you have to write a code for that, right? CSS. So you stick the actual positions. For this one, you have to go to under position, and where it says, this is so little, like it's tedious, right? They always change this too sometimes. You have to open this up, okay? The positions. You have to open this up. And when you open it up, you can see the actual constraints. So I'm going to do constraint top and center. So if I press play, I've had this glitch on me. Oh, it's not. It's still not doing it. Give me 1 second here. Right. There's one more thing I left out. I apologize. This is for your positioning, of course, but in relation to that, you have to go to prototype. So just like XZ, we had design, prototype, share. Here, it's on the this panel side, you got design and prototype. So what you want to do is go to the prototype side, right? And from there, having your box, this grouped item selected, you're going to have to go with fixed or sticky. Basically, stay at top of the edge. Scroll with parent means scroll, basically. So you want to change it to this one here. Stop at the top edge. I can also try either or. Fix would be the same thing, right? So let's try that one there. I've had issues with this, so pardon me if it doesn't work. I might have to, yeah, it works now, see? So when you have it fixed, right, and you scroll, it does kind of work, right? It does scroll. I just always do it to keep it constrained. But yeah, you don't, I don't think you even have to do the previous one, okay? You don't have to constrain it that way, okay? That's only if you do a resizing thing, right? So I just have the habit of doing this sometimes, the position. So it's constrained that way, but also you can just simply go to prototype and have this thing fixed, right? Now for this one, there's two ways of doing it because it's the footer. I know there's two ways. I mean, you can have it fixed and move it here, basically, where the fold line is, and it'll fix that way. Let me just do that one, actually. So I'm going to move it right there, okay? And then basically fixed, stay in place. So this is fixed, and this is also fixed, right? So now when you're scrolling, right, they're both fixed, you see? So now you can basically control both of these independently, right? Because they're fixed. And the trick is the position of them. Make sure you align it as such. So when you scroll up and down, right, the top and the bottom are pretty much fixed. Let me make them a little more apparent. I'll make them darker so you can see them better. So I'm going to press the exit here. And notice how, just to add to Daniela's point, I didn't have to constrain it at all. I just did the fix just to test that theory. But I always like to constrain things for just design purposes too. Either or, it works. Let's say if I was to move it back here for a second, I'm just curious if that will help me in this case. And then I will do constrain bottom and center. And then this will be also just curious to see how these attributes align with one another. Oh, that's not the last one here. Yeah, there was another little trick. I'll remember, I'll show you how to do that one. There's a way that even this understands that, but for now, I'll just move it back to where it was. So again, just for now, keep everything positioned the way it's supposed to be. In this case, I'll move it right over here. So you can see if by any way view. Rulers. That didn't work when I did the shortcut. But you can set up, don't forget the rulers in the guides. You can really set things up. Right? Then you can set things up perfectly and align things perfectly, okay? In case you have to do some adjustments. Okay. Right. See what I mean? That's what constraints does. Right? The move is the actual thing when you constrain it. So again, I would leave that alone at this exact position, okay? And you just have everything aligned perfectly. So let's just recap quickly here what we did. Just gonna match the colors here quickly here. Right. Right. So the main takeaway here again is to keep this on the prototype, you keep the position fixed, and on the bottom of the footer here, you keep that position fixed as well. The difference between sticky stay at the top of page is if you have floating elements. I just remembered now. If you have like a floating element and you scroll down, it'll stick eventually. Do you understand? Like parallax scrolling. Yeah. When you scroll, yeah. So the element will go and it'll just lock. It'll just kind of stop. It won't scroll. It'll go, then it'll get stuck. And then other things will scroll. I'll show you that in another example. I don't want to make this too kind of oriented on this subject alone. So the main thing is fix your menus, which is more important if that's the main interface you're targeting, and leave it at that. And I made some changes here. How would I apply it here and there? How would I copy this over here? So simply copy. Watch how easy it is to copy and paste in Figma. As soon as you delete and you click on this artboard and you hit Command V, it's a, oops, let's see here. Just paste. Automatically paste in place. So paste in place is automatically done for you, which is a good thing, right? You don't have to do paste in place, but paste in place does work, when you're thinking about it of the execution. So basically, let me just change this up a little bit here. Because I'm going to connect the two now. So I'm going to do this. Could be your portfolio app gallery or something. I'm going to copy a few down here. And we'll have this long enough to accommodate all this. And because my design is set to this constraint, I'm just going to take off my constraints now, just to keep it nice and simple to work with my flow. But the main thing is this: if you're doing a scrolling page under prototype, this is fixed and this is fixed, okay? And then we'll take it from there. These are independent. So if I play the first artboard I made, it'll look like this. And it doesn't scroll because that didn't have a scroll feature. And the second one, if I go over to the right, you can have it scroll as well. Oh, had a little glitch happen there, right? So perhaps maybe we should have this set to the bottom center. Make sure so that doesn't happen. Make sure you put bottom center for this guy if it moves on you like it did for me, right? You do have to do the positioning that way, okay? It's not as easy as I thought, I guess. So again, just to kind of clear this up here, the top one, my positioning was set to center and then top, and the menu here, the positioning was center bottom, okay? And if you do play it on top of the fixed, oh shoot, what happened here now? What's going on? Let's just delete it for a second. You know, glitches happen, right? So just that one's working fine. Copy here. Yeah, I'm gonna do it now. Fixed. When I did a lot of back and forth, it got a little mixed up. So don't try to play with it too much. If you do, you better off deleting it or copying it, pasting it. That's what I did, right? So then I'm gonna leave it fixed now. So it's gonna work here. See, it works now, right? So I just copied and pasted it over again. It was fine. If it gets a little weird, right? This does happen sometimes, not just in HTML, but even in Figma, the sticky attributes are a little complex. Yes, sorry. Yes, prototype. It was a prototype, yeah. So basically, all I did was just to kind of not to dwell too much on the subject here. The constraints are irrelevant. I'll be honest with you. Don't worry about the constraints. Keep them. Actually, you know what? Keep them at default, which is top left corner. You don't have to worry about constraints. That's for something else that I can show you later in relevance to other design mechanisms and objects. Okay. For menus, just leave it, keep it simple. Even this, okay, doesn't have to be top center. I can just leave it, you know, left top, which is the default setting, right? The main thing here, the takeaway is this: the prototype, keep it fixed, keep these fixed, just align it to the right appropriate page. Okay. So it works nicely now. All right. These are two separate pages. So now how do we interconnect different pages together in Figma, right? We know how to do it in XD. How do I connect this? Let's say we click on this menu here. It goes to this page, and then we scroll, and we click on this image, and it opens up. And then you close the picture. You know, like you wouldn't, like when you go to Instagram or Facebook, we click on one of the posts, and the post opens up. Then you can read it more. Everything darkens in the background. Then you can close it or click away. It's called lightbox effect, right? Lightbox websites have it a lot with images and stuff, right? I'll show you what a lightbox effect is in case you guys didn't nod. So if you nod, then I'll be like, okay, let's now you know what lightbox is. Lightbox images example. And you can download a script for this. You can even do Chat GPT, and it'll give you probably a script, and you can put on your websites to have this work on your website, HTML. Okay. How to create a lightbox. Oh, look, even W3 Schools talks about it. Ready? So this here is a scrolling lightbox. The one I'm talking about is your script. Let me do another example. Lightbox 2. This is another, this is the one we used to use back in the coding days. Look, this one here. See, this is Lightbox right here. See that? So let's say you have a portfolio website and you click on the thumbnail, it opens up. Click away, it closes. It's a transition from one image to the next, right? You can even go left, right, or you can have the arrows to go next and previous. I think this is more like a sequential lightbox effect. This one has the arrows, you see, next, and it resizes based on the actual things. And X, and if you click away, or if you press the X button, it closes it. So this is what we can do in Figma as a prototype. When you click on an image, it'll open up, or a post, or whatever you're clicking on. So if you want to do an HTML, just Google Lightbox, and you can actually go ahead. Look, it tells you the steps. You get to download the script. It's a JavaScript, and you can put it in your website. It's very easy to do, okay? So you can do this on your, I'm sure Felicia gave you probably a better one too, but a similar example. So that's what Lightbox is. So our goal is to do something similar here. This is perhaps one of these images that we click and they open up, right? Or a post, or, check out this post or video, whatever, right? So to connect these two, okay, let's connect the main elements first. So first of all, this is a group, and so is this. And when I show you components, I'm going to kind of transition a little in a more advanced way, because you're not going to have 2 pages, okay? Your app might have 20 pages. So it's much wiser for you to preset your links, because you don't want to go and set this page to that page to this page, this page. You don't want to repeat your steps too much. Not only it produces more errors, right? It creates more complexity and more work for you. So to have more error-free workflow, you would have to probably utilize components in an advanced fashion to do navigation. But for today's lesson, I'm just going to do a simple demonstration without components. And when I show you components after, you'll understand why you want these components, okay? So you'll show you why, how, and that kind of stuff. So therefore, let's connect this button here, this first button here. Let's connect it to this artboard. How do I do that? Well, design, as you know, just like XD, this does design. Prototype does prototype. So you got to be in prototype in order to connect the page. So if I go to prototype and I zoom into this little rectangle, and if I go to the edge of the rectangle, you got a little plus button. All you do is you drag the plus button to the artboard you want to connect it to, just like you did in XD. Nothing similar. Okay. And then if you let go, I like this about Figma. It gives you a little pop-up menu. It says, hey, what do you want to do again? You want to do it on tap? And you want to go navigate to? So it kind of confirms the default basics navigation, which is most users tap, click, go to iPhone. Now I should name the artboards, but I'm just going to go to 2 here, right? Same artboard number 2. destination, and you want instant to dissolve. I'll do instant. You can even do animation. How we did the animation with the XD stuff. We're not going to do animation here because we're making professional applications. So you don't see an animation. You go to your bank and all the icons start like coming in and stuff. You don't see that, right? So let's just keep it professional. We'll do an instant transition to go from one page to the next. And that's it. If that's the case, then this button becomes highlighted because to tell you, hey, you're there. So we're going to go ahead and go back to design and make this button darker to tell us that we're on that area, right? Makes sense? It's like a notification thing, like you're there. And to go back to the main menu, we're going to click on this little rectangle here. So this little rectangle here under prototype will take us back to the main page. And make sure you drag it to the screen, not the rectangles by accident. Not that I'll let you, but just in case. So you're aware of what you're doing. So on tap, navigate to instant. Okay, so now we made a back and forth action between the two artboards. How do I know? Because I can click away and look at the arrows. The arrows exemplify the connections. So that button goes there. Not only that, it highlights that color to let people know that they're in that section. And then you can scroll through. And then to go back, you simply click on that icon or the header or the hamburger button, whatever you want, you're going to establish. Go back to the main page. Okay, super good. Let's hit save. Let's hit the play button and let's hope it works. So there's the main icon here. And if I miss, look, I'm clicking purposely away from it. Look what it's doing. It's giving me hints. The hint is saying, hey, you're missing the button. So it's a good user-friendly way for people to know what to do because they might not know where to click, right? It might not be so obvious. But so if I click away, it's giving me that blue highlight saying, this is what you should do. So let's go ahead and click on that little button here and go to this page. Notice how it's dark and it's highlighted. So now I can scroll and look at that page and then do whatever. And if I don't want to go back, I click over here to go back to this page. So back and forth, I can go now between the two pages. This alone is pretty much produces 70% of your work, the navigation from pages to page. All the other work is design, detail, and some advanced prototyping, which we're going to cover. We still have some more advanced stuff to do. So once you grasp this basic stuff, the advanced stuff comes next. So speaking of advanced, let's just not do this. Let's have one of these images blow up and do the light box effects. Okay. So for that to happen, let me just close this window here. So what I'm going to do is basically do a parallel comparison on this side. I'm going to create a frame. Okay, and the frame, look what I'm going to make the frame look like this. You can make the frame any size, okay? Now I put a frame in a frame. And yes, you can do that. But in this case, I should be careful and keep the frame separate. So the frame is going to be separately inserted here, like that. I'm going to go to design and give the frame a color. When I say color, I mean I'll give it a color too. Okay, so there's a nice blue. And I can put designs in the frame as well. But for now, I'll leave it nice and plain and simple, just so we execute the works of it. What I'm going to do in addition to that is draw a little X. So to close the window. So this will be my little X button. Looking for the line tool, which should be right over here. Just do a line this way. starting point. There we go. Round. And I want to round the edges so it looks nice and seamless. Option drag. Rotates. Who needs a UI kit? And I'm just gonna group this together. So it's an X button. And this is like the image, right? Which later we can put a real image and stuff. All right, so we're there. This is called frame one. Let's call it lightbox effect. Because exactly that's how it's going to participate. So you do that on the outside of your artboard. Now, mind you, this is an artboard as well. It's just an artboard outside the big artboard of your prototype. So we're going to connect that by using a prototype segment again. So we're going to use this one here. Prototype. Okay. So this will connect to, change a little bit here. Adding a little bit of color here. Well, if I want to match the same color, well, I'll make it a little faded. So it's not too the same, it won't work. Okay, perfect. So prototype, I made this go to that frame, but here's the big thing here. On tap, okay? Navigate to, right? But we're not navigating. What we're doing is we're creating an overlay of an image superimposing itself on the screen. So that's called open overlay. So look at all the different actions you can set. You can do back, scroll to, you can do scroll to, which is cool. I'll show you that another example. You can click on and it'll scroll on the page. You know how websites scroll and you click back to top, click to bottom. That's what scroll does. Open link does a website link. So you can actually link your prototype to real websites. You can actually set up a prototype that looks like a website, that looks like a website, and you can make it, you can actually function like a website because the links will open up websites if you want to do that. Set a variable, that's for advanced use. Unfortunately, that's another program of Figma. I'll give you guys tutorials if you want to look at variables and stuff. But this is all the programmers like to do that stuff. So you can do some development stuff with Figma as well. So once you become a passive designer's test, you can actually learn variables, conditions and stuff. And I'll get Felicia in here to talk to you guys for 3 hours about that if you want. Because it's like more like a JavaScript, but a prototype method. So there's some cool stuff you can do in Figma. They did upgrade the program over the years. But we're here to do design stuff. So we're going to do open overlay. You can swap overlay, or you can close overlay. Okay. I don't think I use swap overlay much. Only use open and close, but we'll explore swap another time. We'll just do open overlay for now. And it's going to open this image to overlay in that area. Now, look at here now. Open when click, sorry, do you want it to close when you click outside? Yes. And what kind of background do you want it? So I'm going to give it a 25% tint, but I'll leave it a default. And the animation will be dissolve. I'll do instant. That's fine. Okay. So we did all the lightbox effect I showed you earlier on the website on this image here. By clicking on that, it'll overlay that one. And let's see how that works. Okay. There it is, right? And look, if I click away, it disappears. So if you click here, it opens, click away, disappears. And you can do that for as many images as you like. Let's say you have like a little, that's why this was a great portfolio thing that students did, because they did a whole portfolio on their apps, and it looked like your portfolio app on your website. So you can actually make it look like that. So you click, and then, but here's what I want to do, everyone. I want the X to close the window. Like normally you have the little X that executes the code, not just me clicking outside, because most people are gonna try to do that, right? They're not gonna click outside, although they can do either or. So how do we make that X work to execute the close overlay effect? So for that one, we go back to this one here. We click on the little X, right? We click on the X, we predetermine that, and we basically tell it to, I'm just gonna click on it. You don't really drag. What you do is you go to interactions, okay? You go to interactions, and you can actually do it this way as well. What I'm going to do in this case, it's on tap, close overlay. Okay, so close overlay will do just that. And notice it'll do a little thing with X that kind of simulated what I did. So it's going to close the overlay when I press the X, and that'll really execute this properly. Okay, so let's hit Command S. Let's go to our main prototype. Press the play button. Here's our app. Okay, and then we interact with it. We click on this button here, back and forth. Okay, and then we go ahead and click on this little thumbnail to open up a prototype thing of a light box. And to close it, we click on the X to close the overlay. So it's a really nice way for you to implement, you know, a nice interactive touch to your prototype. Okay. So this is kind of enough for you to start with and build your apps. And, you know, I want to see the grayscale prototype as well. So wireframing, I want to see the wireframes, because without wireframe, you can't really do this, right? Go ahead. Yes. Oh yeah. So basically, I made an X appearance, and what I did was, I mean, you can do it two ways. You can just go drag this thing and just stop. Oh, no, you have to do it that way. You can't just drag. You have to go up here under interactions and add a plus. It's not just about dragging, right? You can just make interactions by using the interaction little adding the plus button and then telling it to do whatever you want it to do. I just like to drag and drop. Sometimes drag and drop doesn't work. Here, let me just delete it. Watch this. I'll just delete it and do it again. So there's the X right here. Interactions. Think about it. You're prototyping interactions. And to add one, you got to hit the plus button. So you add a plus button. It's going to say, well, what kind of interaction do you want to make? I want to do on tap. So when people click, you can also do rollovers and stuff, mouse enter. You can do a lot of more advanced interactions. But I'll be honest with you, the most common ones are the taps and the clicks and stuff. So on tap, the action would be, now by default, it's navigate to, right? Go there, go here. Well, in this case, we're just going to go to close the overlay, assuming that we already inserted an overlay to begin with. So it'll do the math and say, yeah, there's an overlay action applied. This will terminate that, which will lead to closing the overlay effect. So when you close overlay, what you'll see is a little X. It'll look like a little X self-excluded kind of script. Okay. And if I play that again, you'll have this thing look like this. Play, scroll, sticky menus, open overlay, close overlay, back and forth it goes. All right. And if you can do this, think of how you can make it look like a real graphically pleasing design. So you can make it almost any app come to life, from your prototype visual to the prototyping interactive display and presentation. And then, yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, could you imagine before you even saw this, How do you think they made apps? You think somebody just made an app like that? There's a lot of steps and levels. So there's a lot of prototyping involved that has to be done. A lot of UX design, UI design. And then once you design the prototype of the app, then they develop the app. Okay. Okay, so this wraps up the recording. Next week, we start nice and early, 9 a.m. We have a trade show to do at 12. Thank God it's in Mississauga, so I can just get there quicker. And then Roberto's going to take over my class. At that time, we'll just switch, right? And then we'll cover more advanced topics. I'm going to open this file and show you some other to-do things and maybe some other advanced stuff on top of this file. So I'm going to save this and upload it on today's lesson. So you can open this file. Some of you have been watching me do this. You can use it as a reference. I want you to all do this on your own and know how to do this all by yourself, okay? So that wraps up the video, and then we'll take some questions and answers afterwards. Okay, so thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great weekend.